With the prices of everything going up right now, from groceries to pretty much everything that you need for your home every single day, I know you are trying to figure out how to make $1 out of 15 cents. So today we're pulling some tried and true Great Depression era frugal hacks, the stuff my grandparents and great grandparents did to survive tough times without spending a dime more than they had to. Tip number 1 is use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. Now, this was one of those OG frugal mottos. Before you toss anything or even think about replacing it, just ask yourself, can I fix it? Can I repurpose it? Can I live without it? That old t-shirt with the whole make it a cleaning rag, that chair that has the wobbly leg, just tighten the screws. That blender that needs a new whatever it needs, don't junk it, just fix it. You'll easily save $10 to $100+ every time you repair or reuse something instead of replacing it. Tip number 2 is meal plan with what you have. Now, my grandmom didn't say, what do you feel like eating? She just said, this is what we have to eat. She didn't run to the store for every meal idea. She looked at what she had in the pantry first. And this time we do the same. Build your meals from what you already have in your house. You have a couple of pounds of potatoes, some frozen veggies, and maybe some chicken thighs. You know it's chicken and potato casserole night. It just means you're going to avoid that $20 to $50 a week in unnecessary grocery runs and potential food waste. If you only have a certain amount of money coming in each month, you want to make sure that you're using it where you need it the most. Tip number 3 is to mend and repair your clothes. A little needle and thread goes a long way. Just patch your jeans or fix the hem. It's going to save you so much money on your clothes in the long run. And you don't need to be a seamstress. If you can just sew a button or patch a hole, you are good to go. It just means that you can apply that $20 to $50 to something that's more important, or you can even buy something you don't already have instead of buying a new version of the jeans you already have in your closet. You can buy a basic mending kit from the Dollar Tree, or even these iron-on squares from the Dollar Tree, and cut them into cute shapes and just use them as patches. Tip number 4 is to keep a scrap bag. Now, this was basically the original crafting drawer. If you have old clothing that really is no longer wearable, you can cut the material into large pieces, just pop off the buttons and store those. Keep zippers, ribbons, string, just save them and use them for mending or crafts or to repair something later. Craft supplies can add up over time, but not if you already have a stash that didn't cost you anything extra. And what I do so that my stash doesn't get out of control is I use a small bin, a box, or a dedicated drawer just to keep those items in. And once it gets filled up, I stop adding to it until I've used some of what's in there, because I like crafting, but I don't like clutter. Tip number 5 is to air dry your laundry. Now, electric dryers are a definite convenience, but they can also be money drainers. I lived with my grandmother for 8 years and she never had a dryer, so line drying was my only option. Air drying is going to save you on electricity, it keeps your clothes from shrinking, and it stretches the life of your clothing, because electric drying wears out the fibers faster and causes the thinning of the material, and that's why sometimes you'll see those little holes in your clothes and have no idea how they got there. Now, if you don't have a yard or a lot of space for line drying, you can dry them on some sock padded hangers and just hang them from a shower curtain rod or on a drying rack indoors. And you could potentially save up to $50 a month on your energy bill. Tip number 6 is to save bacon grease and scraps. Old school cooks did not waste flavor. A jar of bacon grease can turn some bland veggies and potatoes into a treat. If you're a bacon eater, you already have it. So you don't have to use up all of your vegetable oil or olive oil for certain recipes. You can just use the bacon grease. So while it's still hot, you can just pour it into a jar and keep it in the fridge, and then use it to saute green beans, fry eggs, or even flavor up your cornbread. It just cuts down on your cooking oil costs and ups the flavor without having to buy a bunch of bougie seasonings. Tip number 7 is cash envelope budgeting. And there's nothing like the tactile pain of handing over cash to help you decide not to spend your money on something you don't need. You just don't feel it the same when you're just swiping a card. Handing over cold, hard cash Ouch. My grandmother used to sit at her little desk in the living room and write out what bills were due. And I would see her putting cash into envelopes. And I didn't know what she was doing at the time. But when I started getting my money situation in order, I would sit and put my cash into envelopes for each of my spending categories. Just seeing those dollar bills disappearing one by one always slowed down my spending. And then when the money was gone, it was just gone. I couldn't overspend. I didn't have any overdraft fees. Now, later on, once I developed really good discipline, I was able to move into using my debit card almost exclusively. But I spent a lot less on those non-essentials when I was using envelopes. Tip number 8 is to make gifts instead of buying them. Now, nothing says I love you like a homemade gift. You can make jam from some fruit in your garden, or you can crochet monogrammed pot holders. Just thoughtful DIY gifts are both frugal and meaningful. Now, I've baked cookies and placed them in a mug from the Dollar Tree and covered the mug with a hand crocheted mug cozy. I've made really inexpensive but personalized gift baskets, and you can just make a decorative recipe card holder from a cereal box and type up some of your best recipes for someone that loves your cooking. Depending on how creative you get and what you're able to create with inexpensive materials or materials you already have, you could potentially save $10, $20, $50 per gift. Tip number 9 is to collect rainwater. Rainwater was conserved like gold because it was a way to cut down on the cost of water for the home. I mean, it's free. Plus, rainwater is considered soft water because it doesn't have the chemicals and the minerals that make a lot of our water hard water, which makes rainwater ideal for washing your clothes and cleaning, since soap is going to lather and rinse more easily without building up residue. And for that reason, it's also great for the hair. And again, it's free. Tip number 10 is to cook from scratch. Pre-packaged food usually comes with what I call a convenience tax. Most of the time, it costs more, but you get less. Flour tortillas, for instance, I can get a bag of 20 fajita-sized tortillas for about $4, but I can make up to 80 tortillas from a 5-pound bag of flour for just $2.50. And it's the same for those flavored rice packets that cost maybe $1.25, but they only feed your family for one meal versus buying a $1 bag of rice and then adding your own seasonings and a little butter and some milk to make it creamy. You can save $50 to $200+ per month, depending on how many meals you make from scratch. Tip number 11 is to make friends with the leftovers. Nothing went to waste back in the day. Leftovers were reinvented into soups, casseroles, hash. Today, you can just call it a fridge clean out stir fry and you're good to go. And I know you hear it all the time, but sometimes people still act like they're too good for yesterday's food. And if you don't like calling it leftovers, just call it last night's dinner in a new outfit. My grandmother was great for taking leftover rice and some veggies and some eggs and putting it all together in a pan and making fried rice. And if you have some leftover chicken, throw that in there too and just make chicken fried rice. Just get creative with it. It's all about stretching what you have so you don't have to buy more as often. Tip number 12 is reuse everything. Seriously, it was common in past generations for old clothes to be turned into patch quilts, jars became drinking glasses, flour sacks became dresses. Just channel that same energy and reuse your containers, you reuse your packages, take a cereal box and turn it into a napkin holder. Again, just get creative, and it's actually a lot of fun. And I have a playlist of videos where you can get some repurposing ideas for some of your everyday needs, and you can just save so much money making something you need with what you already have instead of buying it. Tip number 13 is to barter and trade. If you don't have cash, no problem. Neighbors used to trade eggs for milk. They would sew something for someone in exchange for firewood. Just try swapping skills or items with friends, family members, or your neighbors. Just offer whatever you have that someone else might need. If you need your lawn mowed, maybe offer to make them some cookies. If you need childcare for an hour, maybe offer to run an errand for that person in exchange. The money you can save is almost limitless. Tip number 14 is to stretch your meat further. For a lot of people, meat was a flavoring. It was not the main event of the meal unless you had a lot of money. And they would just take cheaper foods like beans, rice, breadcrumbs, or oatmeal and add it to the meat to bulk up the meal without spending too much money. And I've taken a 1/4 pound of ground beef and mixed it with a 1/2 can of mashed black beans for taco meat or homemade burgers. And one of my favorite dishes to make with chicken breasts is a chicken and veggie stir fry, because you don't have to use as much of the chicken as when you just make a whole chicken breast and put them on someone's plate, if you know what I mean. Tip number 15, if it still works, don't replace it. Now, this seems obvious, but today we just toss things the second they're old. Like back in the day, people used to use things until they absolutely couldn't use them anymore. And sometimes they still used it, even when they couldn't. My grandmother would bleach and keep using her dishcloths until they were literally falling apart. But as long as it was getting the job done, she was going to use it. If it's not broken, don't replace it just because it's not fancy. That blender from 2007, if it's still blending, leave it alone. Tip number 16 is to wash your hair less often. Now, generations ago, shampoo was not used every single day. People would wash their hair once a week or even less, which was actually helpful for the health of their scalp and oil balance, because they weren't constantly stripping their hair of the natural oils. And so for those currently washing their hair practically every day, reducing the number of washes is going to save money on water, electricity from heating the water, and it's going to keep you from having to spend money on shampoo as often. And right now, with the prices of everything going up almost daily, you want to be spending your money on those types of things as seldom as possible, especially when money is really tight. In between washes, if your hair or your scalp feels like it's getting too oily, you can apply a DIY dry shampoo made from cornstarch, which you can get really cheap. You can also use cocoa powder for darker hair, but it costs a little bit more. And you just apply it with a makeup brush, and then you just brush it out with your hairbrush. Now, if your scalp feels like it needs a little extra love in between those washes, then you can just make a DIY scalp cleanser with a mix of about 2 ounces of witch hazel and 3 drops of tea tree oil on a cotton pad. You can just gently dab it on your scalp to remove any buildup and soothe any itchiness. And just as a side note, anytime you use tea tree oil, make sure that it's diluted with something like witch hazel or an oil, because it's too strong for the skin to use alone. Tip number 18 is to wear your hair in simple styles. Pin curls, braids, buns, they were all popular low maintenance styles and still are, because they don't rely on the constant use of heating tools, which is going to save you on electricity, and it's also going to save you on expensive salon visits. Now, tip number 19, and this is something that might be real old school, but it didn't cost anything extra, and that was using lard or even leftover bacon fat for ashy hands and elbows. Now, I know it's not glamorous, but I bet a lot of people would be following you around at work. Now, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be doing this, but you can absolutely use several oils that may already be in your kitchen to moisturize your body, your hair, your face. And just as a little tip, I have gotten 8-ounce bottles of olive oil from the Dollar Tree several times, and I'm able to use it for cooking and on my body from head to toe for just $1.25. Tip number 20 is another really inexpensive item that you may already have in your kitchen that you can use for a variety of purposes to save some money, and that is apple cider vinegar. You always have to dilute it before using it, but you can use it as a hair and scalp rinse, maybe once a week or every other week in between your washes, especially if you deal with a lot of product buildup or itchiness or even dull looking hair. You can use it as a facial toner, just dilute it like 1 part HCV and 1 part water and just apply it to your face like a regular toner. You can use it as a kitchen cleaner. You can clean your windows with it. If you combine it with some baking soda, you can use it to unclog your drains. Of course, you can cook with it, make salad dressings and marinades, and you can get a 32-ounce bottle for just a couple of dollars. And because you have to dilute it, it lasts for so long. Look, our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents did not have TikTok and Amazon Prime, but they knew how to live well on less. And these tips aren't just for nostalgia. They are timeless. When money is tight, you can just reach for any one of these tips and put it into practice instantly. If you found something in this video that you think you're going to try, just drop that in the comments below. And if you've got any old school frugal tips that were maybe passed down in your family, I definitely want to hear about it. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to watch this repurposed playlist right here for some ideas for how to reuse some of the things you already have. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.